If you wonder why the big things in your business aren't happening, you need to look at your inability to do the small things. I shared this on Insta Stories last night. It was really some musings around discipline and self-leadership. And those are two things. If you want to grow your business and if you want to be the best entrepreneur that you can be, you need to have those in abundance. I think a lot of us overlook stuff like this and we think if I just have the right strategy and if I could just get a little bit more visibility and if I could just get this, but all of that means shit if you do not have the discipline to see through hard things or commit to all of the things that you said that you are going to do. And I see this a lot in I'm going to call it the online space, where a lot of the time people will want accountability. And I think the accountability comes from a lot of people's inability to lead themselves. And as a byproduct, they want to put that off to someone else. And I see this a lot with self-paced courses. And it's interesting the conversations that I have with people when they're like, I don't want to do a self-paced course because, I need support and I want to ask questions. And it's interesting when I'll tell people, let's just use Give Good Email as an example. I'm like, well, you still get me. You can ask me anything you want. You can ask me anything that you want for life in our Facebook group or on a call. So it's really no different to working with me one-to-one, because if you show up, I will show up for you. And I think this is an interesting conversation to have where I want you to reflect for a second on all of the investments that you have ever made in your business. And I want you to ask yourself if you have truly gotten out of them what you thought you would. And I know that there is going to be a large percentage of you that say no. And my next question to that is, what could have you done differently? And what questions could have you asked to ensure that the outcome that you wanted to have was your responsibility? And it's really interesting that a lot of the time we will pass responsibility onto the people that we work with, forgetting that at the end of the day, this is our business, it is our vision. And the only person that is really responsible for achieving this at the end of the day is us. It doesn't matter if we, hire someone to do our website or we hire a staff member. At the end of the day, it still comes back to us. Because, we are the founder, we are the CEO. Everyone that we bring into our business, all of that, it comes back to us. And I think this is an interesting conversation around self-paced courses and a lot of people feeling like that they can't do self-paced anything. And it's interesting because when I hear that people can't do self-paced stuff, but when there is still support present, it's interesting that I'm like, is the reason that you cannot do anything self-paced is because you don't have the discipline to do that. And if you are after someone who is going to, you say, support you and I want accountability, and then my question for you is going to be, then why should the person that you are working with want this more than you? Like, why are you tasking that person with the discipline that you should have for your business? And that's why when I said, this is probably self-discipline discipline and self-leadership are two of the most important skills to have. Everything else you can learn. You can learn how to be creative. You can learn how to sell. You can learn how to do good marketing. You can learn how to teach a workshop. All of that you can learn. But if we look at it this way, none of that will happen if we don't have those two things present in abundance, the discipline and the ability to self-lead. I think when we look at discipline, I reflect on times when I feel moments where I don't want to exercise my discipline muscle. And I tell myself that stuff really isn't that bad. And I will try to almost talk myself into being happy with the situation and almost like justifying it so much. Like, well, you've got a lot on your plate and this has happened and that's happened. But the truth is, do I want an excuse to make me feel better for a lack of results that I have, or do I want the results? And the problem is the longer that we let this go on. So if this is something and you just don't want to address this within your business, the problem is that this is where I see entrepreneurs that end up coasting. And when they coast, their business looks the same, but it's not about their business looking the same. It's like, have you ever had a situation where you feel like your business has gotten worse, but when you actually look at like a profit and loss statement, it isn't really too much different to 6 months ago. And you're like, but why does this feel so much more painful? And the reason that this feels so much more painful is the fact that although the circumstance is the same, you have the mental weight of knowing that, the results that you have are from your lack of discipline and what you are not doing. And that's why it feels so much more shit. And this is like one of those things, what's that saying? It's like, hard decisions now, easy life later, or easy decisions now, hard life later. And if you can change your way of thinking in business to really do things for your future self, you are going to have so much of a better business. So what you can do now is you can have a look at all of the areas in your business and ask yourself, how disciplined am I? Some things for you to think about. Where do you not show up? Where do you not keep promises to yourself? What are the "it's only one time, it doesn't matter" excuses that you continually make? Where do you hide from responsibility and accountability for your future self? And how many times have you wanted to invest in something, or something is for you, but you give the excuse that this isn't going to work for you because you need a bit more support and you are a little bit different? And I don't want anyone coming at me saying, "Oh no, but it's all the learning styles." Trust me, baby cakes, I know this. I was a mentor for a training organization. The amount of Pilates teachers that I have taught, Pilates students that I have had, thousands upon thousands of people that I have taught in my, 16 years of having a business. I think that this is a choice that you get to make. What I want you to think about is, would you rather have the excuse, or would you rather have the outcome? And so often we have people that will just be clutching onto this excuse where it's almost part of their identity. And the problem is a lot of people are more adamant in making something part of their identity because it affirms the situation that they have right now. But what you don't realize is it is not only affirming the situation that you have right now, it is predicting your future. So if you are like, "Oh, I'm not disciplined. Oh, I'm not this," you are not going to wake up tomorrow and have a different future, because how we show up, the words that we tell ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves, and the identity that we create is ultimately going to give us the future that we will grow into. So if we are not making a decision about, leading ourselves in a different way and flexing our discipline muscle, we're not going to wake up in 6 months' time completely different. We are going to wake up the same person that we are today. The only difference is there's going to be a lot of emotional heaviness of us still feeling in the same spot and why we can't get this right. The thing is, you can get this right. What you're not doing though is you are overlooking all of the small things of where you feel that you need to potentially feel a certain way to do it, that you need to have perfect time to do it. So I have a bit of an example here, and I know some of them listen to my podcast. So if you feel called out, it's from a place of love. But every Monday in Business Bang, we have, at the same time every week, we've got a little weekly intention that drops in. There's 4 questions to answer, and they're pretty basic. It's like, what are you doing? Where do you need support? What are your goals? That's basically it. This is pretty simple. And why it's simple is, the fact that it's in Slack, someone can voice note me, I can open it, I can see the text. And it could just be something like, my goals are, I want to get 3 clients. I want to focus on this. I want to focus on that. I need support with knowing how to do a sales funnel or doing this. What this is great for is, well, 1, it helps me to know where you are and how I can help you. And 2, it helps the community as well. I have people that just don't do it. And it's interesting that I'm like, this is a minute task. And why I love this is it gives me such an indication into what is happening in people's business. I don't really need to ask my clients how business is going. I can tell with them either doing the Monday check-in or not doing it. I don't even need to have a conversation. How they show up and their quickness, I'm going to say, to do this will tell me everything that I need to know about what's happening in their business. And it's interesting that a lot of the time we will overlook this. We overlook the little things that we think is insignificant and doesn't really matter. Why this is because we like to trick ourselves that it can't be this easy. And this mustn't be the thing. There must be some other thing. There must be something that I need to do where it's almost like this light switch is going to go off and then everything is going to make sense. But I am here to tell you that it isn't like that. What it is about repeatedly doing things and being so consistent. It is moving through oftentimes the feeling of not wanting to do stuff or stuck emotions, or moving through things and feeling like that you are disappointed with an outcome, but you're still going to show up anyway. It's showing up even though, you feel like that you haven't done something well and you're still going to show up anyway. This is why athletes make the best business people. Athletes always do, because you think about it as like, I'm not a sports person, but I look at sporting teams and, the commentary that people make online and they'll be like, "Oh my God, they haven't won since 1973. And yet they're still showing up. They're on the field. They play. They give it their all every fucking time. And they have the noise of everyone around them sitting in the fucking arena when they're the ones doing the work. That's why anytime an athlete or someone that has sporting training wants to go into a business, I know straight away that they're going to do well. What I want you to do is I want you to look at other areas of your life of where you already have this evidence and tell yourself that you can get through this because you have done that. Of course, I'm going to be able to do this because I have been that before. What I would encourage you to do if you do have that evidence is to go like mentally back in time and ask yourself, who was I and how did I show up and what did I believe and what was my process of moving through things when it felt uncomfortable or when I wasn't getting results. And there is going to be so much data that you find within those thoughts. So for example, I look back to when I had a total knee reconstruction in, 2008. I dislocated my knee doing a jump split in cheerleading, I know. And I had to get a full knee reconstruction, like full. They sawed my tibia, They had to saw my tibia in half. I've got 3 titanium screws up my leg. I had to get ligaments repaired. Like I was in hospital for 5 days. It was gruesome. And I was in a leg brace from my hip to my ankle with crutches for 3 months. And I loved dancing and I was told that I probably wouldn't be able to dance again. And I was also halfway through my Pilates course. No, actually I'd finished all of the components and now I basically had to become a teacher. And I had to do this all within like 7 months. I was living at home at the time with my mom, who was like, you're not busy enough. I'm going to enroll you in Fitness Certificate 3. Love Jan for that. I had the weight on me that I would never be able to dance again. And then I also had the weight of the surgeon being like, your other knee is so bad, you'll be back here. And then I had to do rehab like 4 times a week. I also had to study 2 courses and rehab myself so I could do my Pilates course. And I was also gaining weight because I wasn't doing anything. I was losing muscle. So you can imagine how hard it was to do the course. I got my surgery the 1st of September and I did my Pilates course. So my teacher exam, maybe it was like the end of February the next year, or it was early March. I was back in heels. I was back running. I looked the best that I've ever looked. I lost the weight. I opened my studio then like 6 months after that, and I can look at the remarkable difference that I had had in a 12-month period and how a lot of the time people just assume life is over. But for me, I didn't fucking accept that. And let me tell you, the pain that I was in was awful. I have never been in that much pain in my life, like searing bone pain. And I still had to show up and I had to do all of the things. And what I told myself in this moment is no one was going to come and do this for me. No one could do my rehab. I was the one that had to do this. I told myself that this is probably going to be one of the hardest things that I have to go through, but I was not going to draw this out. I was not going to be the person that didn't do their knee rehab and then 10 years later was still saying, I have a knee problem. No, you fucking don't. You're lazy. You never did the rehab. You don't have a knee problem. You have a self-commitment problem. And I did not want to be that. I was adamant and I told my surgeon when he said, I'll see you for your other knee. And I'm like, you'll never see me again. And I never had any problems again. And I did everything that I possibly could to completely change the circumstance that I was in. And this got me to completely change everything with my body and get so disciplined and show up every day and show up even when I was in searing pain. And because of that, I now can come into business and it doesn't matter if people leave me on red or if we have a launch and we make no sales or we make low sales or whatever is happening, I know that I'm going to be okay. And the reason that I'm going to be okay is because I know that the results will happen because I know who I am on a daily basis. Like I know that that is so available to me. So I never feel at a loss that anything that I want isn't going to happen because I know who the fuck I am. And if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I get that, amazing, congratulations, because that mindset is going to take you far. If you feel that everything is outside of yourself, that is going to be really limiting for you and your growth. Because, when you have this mindset and when you are able to lead yourself, it is not about knowing how to do everything. That is not what I'm saying. But it is about you having an understanding of anything that you want is not outside of yourself. So I want to say that if you are feeling like business is hard, I would ask yourself if you are feeling like it's hard because you are waiting for someone to come in and rescue you from this the sense of responsibility and you making decisions and it all being on you. Because I think the sooner that you can accept that, well, I'm in business, I'm going to have to make decisions, like I'm going to wear all the hats. If stuff isn't getting done, it's still on me. I've got this at the moment. I've outsourced some stuff and I hate following people up. It's out of everything in business that I hate, I would rather be told to get fucked than to follow someone up to check in if they are doing the job that I paid them for. Oh, I don't like that. I hate that. I hate following people up. It's awful. But I just have to do that and I have to get over that. What all of the big entrepreneurs have in common, it is not that they have some secret plan and it's not that they have some secret little formula. Like it's not something that you haven't been looped in on. I know that you feel like you should have been CC'd in on this email. I was, and I'm going to tell you what was in it. The contents of this email was anything that you want in business can happen. And it is not about, having some secret strategy. It's about having the discipline to see things through. It's about follow through. And it is about leading yourself through times and experiences that may be not that ideal. That just happens. That's life. That's business. If you feel like that this is something that you are really falling down on, congratulations, because you are going to see the most incredible change and you are going to see the most shift. The people where you think about it, you're like, well, I am disciplined and I am doing this and I am doing that. And I tell you, and you listen to this podcast, and you're like, I am doing everything perfectly. That's frustrating because that's when we need to do these little 1% tweaks. If you really are not disciplined, imagine the results that you're going to have in your business when you finally can be disciplined and when you can, lead yourself better without having your unofficial board of directors, which is the group chat. I feel especially now, we are so lucky to have things like AI working for us. The amount of times that I have voice noted Claude an email and I've said, hey, Claude, baby, I'm going to voice note you an email. I just want you to transcribe this word for word for me. Put it into paragraphs. Don't change what I'm saying. I will be doing that, holding my phone as I'm tidying my house or as I'm walking to get a coffee. When you look at business and being disciplined, this isn't about you creating a really regimented structure where you are like, I am going to sit down and write. I am going to ensure this happens. It's not about that, but it's about doing all the things that you say that you are going to do and ensuring that it happens. And that's always going to look different. What you need to make sure is that you are not the one that is letting you down because that's painful. And this is why in business, you need to make sure that you are rewarding the effort and not the outcome because so much of business is reliant on other people as well, deciding that they're going to work with you or that they're going to purchase. There is an element of luck there. I'm not going to lie, right place at the right time. However, if you reward yourself for the effort and you make that the metric, you make that what you are working through, this is where you will tell yourself, oh my God, I'm doing such a good job. I've done such a good job. Because what you're doing is you are not looking at the outcome and the results. You're looking at everything that has to happen and the outcome and the results will be inevitable. Of course, that's going to happen for you. So if you know what needs to change, you have to stop finger painting in the bullshit. If you shit your pants, you don't just keep the pants on, you change your pants. And if you are feeling like you need to do that, congratulations, that's the first step. So what I'm going to say is, where are you feeling that your lack of discipline and lack of self-leadership is letting you down? When we scan every part of your business, what is it? And I don't want you to go and do everything today. I don't want you or expect you to wake up tomorrow a different person that suddenly is super disciplined and all of a sudden you've got the Rocky theme song soundtrack playing continually and you're like, I'm going to run a marathon. It's not about that, because oftentimes we look at the big things. Fuck the big things. I want you to look at the small little things that you overlook, the tiny little things. And when you master those tiny things, the big stuff, the goals that you want, the business that you want is automatically going to happen. And whenever you decide that you want to create a big goal, you will never feel like it's out of reach for you ever, because you know who you are to go and achieve that. So I want you to look and imagine future you. And I want you to think about who they are and what they're doing and what does discipline and self-leadership look like to them. How would they move through today? How would they move through this next task? And then what I want you to do is to take an element and do it immediately. I want you to action this within like the next 10 minutes. If you're driving, as soon as you get out of the car, do not put this off, because future you is waiting for you to exercise this discipline. They are on the other side of that, of you repeatedly doing that, and they are so excited to meet you. Hot stuff, I love this. I love you. What I would love for you to do is tag me on Instagram at professional babe. Show me how you are being disciplined. Show me what you are doing. Take a photo, tag me, and go and fucking get it. Hottie, I love this. I love you. I love you more than, oh my gosh, really big thing. I had to go to hospital this week, and I had to go and get a colonoscopy and gastroscopy. Not really the most fun thing. However, I'm not going to lie, it actually wasn't that bad. Everyone was like, the prep is so bad. And I'm going to be honest, if you have awful GI issues, as I do, I was like, this is easy. I could do this every Wednesday. It actually wasn't that bad. I also kind of reframed it as a slight spiritual experience. I was like, okay, cool. Let's imagine that the prep is just cleansing my body of just all the shit and the negativity. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to imagine it filling my cells with all of the stuff that I want. I really made this a really fun little experience. That was fun. The downside was I've got little bruises all over me, and that's not that fantastic. Everything looks pretty cool. I've got to wait for some of my results to come back, but my surgeon was really feeling optimistic that everything looked great. So clean bill of health. I love you more than that. How good is that? How good is that now that I know that I'm not going to have a problem for the next few years, and that I've got the tick of approval, that my colon is perfect. Fantastic. So I love you more than that. I love you more than my mom. Oh my gosh, Jan, love her. We went out this morning to a shop and I bought a coat. And when I say I bought a coat, Jan bought a coat because we went together. I wanted to try this coat on. Oh my gosh, it's really lovely. It's very lush. I said to her, I went to buy it. It was on sale. I think it was $600 down to maybe $280. And she's like, no, I'll buy it. I'm like, stop. She's like, no, I'll buy it. I'm like, okay, I'll accept it. Thank you so much. So I love you more than that. Love you more than my beautiful mom and my beautiful little coat that I bought. Coat or jacket? Wait, I think coat's longer. So it must be a jacket. It's a little furry number. It's cropped, slightly cropped on the sleeves with a big collar. We know I love a fur moment. So love you more than that. And I love you more than, oh my gosh, I watched on Prime. So mum bought a new TV. I actually think I'm going to get a TV, which means I need to get home internet, which means that I need to get a wriggle on and do all of this. I actually think I'm going to put my TV in the bedroom, which I feel like is a bit of a bold choice, but I want it to feel like it's a hotel. So I need to kind of get that sorted. But anyway, off topic. My mum bought a TV, and the other day there was nothing on Netflix, and we keep talking about wanting to watch Vacancy with, who is it? It's Luke. Is it Luke Wilson and Kate Beckinsale? I was like, well, it's on Prime. We have to pay. It's $5. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just pay. And she's like, no. And I'm like, Mum, it's $5. Anyway, so I got it. It was super easy to get. And then what I did is I bought it $5 or rented it, and we watched it. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I've got Prime for the next month. I'll see what I want to do with it. And then what I did is I started to watch this show, Daisy Jones and the Six. Have you seen it? I'm obsessed. It's my favorite era. I love the 60s and 70s. If I could go back to any point in time and be in my 20s, it would be then. I love the fashion, the people, everyone is just so attractive. As you know, I love a cast where you would have sex with everyone. And I feel like that was that show. It was really good. I wish it was longer, but I feel sometimes you don't want it to be too drawn out and then get silly and then characters get funny. So it was a fantastic show. I think I'm going to give it another watch. So I love you more than that. Hot stuff. I feel like this has been a little bit of a long one for our Monday. So I love this. I love you. And I'll see you on the next episode. Mwah. If you're craving more, make sure to subscribe to my email list, which you can find at professionalbabe.com. And word on the street, I give good email. Now go and take everything you've learned, get your hands dirty with it, and go and make some serious money.